What is happening, Miles Biggs? How are you today, my friend?
Hello, hello. Doing well. How are
Love it.
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm loving it. We're down in Florida again, doing our live show on the road and taking care of business. So things are well. I'm definitely not wearing a sweater, which I'm quite happy about.
Yeah, I think it's like high 30s, mid 40s, and raining here. So
Oh
I'm
no.
cozied
Yeah,
up in my sweater.
it's sunny, blue skies, and I think pushing mid 80s, maybe even 90 degrees here.
Nice.
I know. I'm not complaining, but man, it's when you're from the north, it's hot, brother.
Oh,
Yeah. So I love it, everybody. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today on Increasing Influence with Miles Biggs Ideas and myself. We are going to be kind of looking at the year in review and things that have happened and not happened and going to happen and all of those things, Miles. So I think today is going to be an interesting conversation to be had because we're almost at 1 year. I think we're 2 shows away, Miles, from 1 year every week without missing a beat, even on holidays, doing our live show. How cool is that?
yeah, very cool and crazy. It just went by so quick.
Oh, it did.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. It is nuts. And a lot's happened. So if you're just joining us, please hit that like and share button right now. Also, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We're going to go to where the young people are because the young people aren't coming to us. So that's why we are also on Twitch. And with that said, at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. And not only building it better, doing it better. Today is all about personal branding and what the value of personal branding is. And we're also going to talk about what the negative side of personal branding is. And we've learned a lot this year, Miles, doing this since COVID has struck full time, haven't we?
Yes, a whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, Miles, how's it been for you? I mean, you've really gone down this journey full time since COVID.
Yeah. So I use this year at home, and the extra time I get with no commute on either end of the day. Right.
Right.
It used to be when you're in an office, like I wouldn't take a lunch break, right? You're at your desk, you're surrounded by the work. So you just dive in and do the work, right? Well, now I'm at home. So yeah, I'll pop downstairs and make a sandwich and take a little break during the day. And I found it's incredible what I've been able to get done in these small pockets of time, beginning, middle, end of the day for myself, in addition to continuing to excel in my professional career, holding down a full-time day job with all of this. So it's nuts. I thought I was good at time management, but I confirmed it to myself in 2020 that I am excellent at time management.
Really? Well, maybe you can teach me some things. I feel like I don't have enough time to get all my time management stuff scheduled.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been doing this with you for 1 day a week for a year. You've been doing this for 6 days a week. So you got a lot, my friend. You got a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it has been. It's almost been 1 year of 6 days a week. We're still working through how we're going to celebrate it, Miles. Not sure yet. We're either going to do a 24-hour show or we're going to do a 365-minute show. But either way, we're going to do something to celebrate 6 days a week, all the things that we've changed. And hopefully we can have a lot of past guests and podcasters and other influencers on sharing that time with us to really grow everything that we've worked so hard on this past year.
Yeah. Either way you do it, I'm in. It'd be fun. However we celebrate.
Miles Biggs idea, relish the journey, live podcast, right? I mean, let's bring it in. Let's have fun with it. We got so many other people that are on board as well, which will be fun. So, topic of the day today, Miles, is: has the world become less thankless? Has the world become less thankless?
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. People in social isolation, right? Quarantine in your home, not out in society at large. I think you've seen it's polarizing, right? People either have made it a point to go out and seek human connection in a digital space and be thankful and share their thanks and gratitude and just really go after that human connection however they can find it. And other people have just, hermit crabbed it, right? Just like in their shell and very focused on themselves and the lack of a physical connection in the same room with people. Sorry, I'm laughing. I got my Peeps Band-Aid here, everybody. Sign of fatherhood. I just noticed that on the screen. has made them, thankless, right? Like they're so concerned on themselves and their own situation. And in many ways, rightly so. A lot of people have a lot going on in their personal lives right now, but it's interesting. You see some people really separating and giving praise and giving thanks and gratefulness, and other people not. It's almost like the pandemic and quarantine. It's like what they say about winning the lottery. When you get money, it just amplifies what's already there, right? It's like, so we were given this, in many ways, gift of time, and it just amplified what was already there for any of us.
Well, I think it amplified it, but at the same extent, has it made us less connected personally, that we don't say thank you enough to everybody, and maybe kind of people just assume, what you're doing or where you're going or how you're helping or what you're sharing they just feel it's easier to do now. We were kind of talking offline a little bit about this, and I don't know. It seems like it's gotten a little bit harsher. I mean, online's been great. We got people thanking us all the time, but from being in meetings and seeing what's going on, it just feels like it's not that same personal connection where you really want to just say, hey, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are on edge. I felt what you're feeling as well. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people had a different mindset when, this time last year, I remember packing up my stuff from the office and being told, we'll give it a week and see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
Here we are a year later and I'm still at home. Thankful that I overreacted at the time and took home everything that I did just in case, so that I had it. Right. But yeah, I think a lot of people, so it's like an extreme case of cabin fever, right? People are stressed. It's, and then they lash out in some ways, kind of channel that in that way versus in a more positive way.
No doubt. I mean, the stress, I don't think changes. I think the workload has picked up for a lot of people. One of the things that I really appreciated this year, was what you did on your birthday 2 weeks ago. And it's a post that's gotten a lot of attention and a lot of views, where you kind of documented your year in review, so to speak, right? What your accomplishments were. What made you do that, Miles? Tell me, what made you do this? Because this goes back to the thankless side. There was a lot of people that liked and commented.
Yeah. So it's something I've done in an analog version, not sharing it on LinkedIn, for quite some time. Right. I find power in journaling and goal setting with good old fashioned pen and paper. I think it helps manifest those things into reality. And it's a good reminder when, you're a little bit down, you can go back and look at a list of, okay, I actually have accomplished a lot of things and here's what they are, just to kind of give yourself your own reset. So when I sat down, I turned 31 in 2021. So 2020 was my 30th year on this planet. And it was a crazy year. So many things happened. And so I just started writing it down. And when I got to the final list, I was surprised, because for me, I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I focus on individual things at a time. And when I stood back and looked at the whole scope of everything, it was nuts. And so I wanted to share it as an example of positive things that can happen out of negative circumstances, right? Hopefully somebody would read that and get a little motivated to take a stab and start something that they've been wanting to do. But also, being thankful, there are a lot of people that helped me this year get a lot of this stuff done, or either like literally help me like get work done, or help me edit videos, or whatever it might be.
Right.
Or with just a good support system, give me recommendations, sounding boards, help give me opportunities for speaking engagements, things like that. So it was a chance just to give those people a public shout out in addition to a private conversation. Put it out there, had some fun with emojis in my list, made it kind of funny. And well,
let's read a couple things. Here. Okay. Let me, because I don't like to blow you up at all, ever, Miles. Never. I don't like to celebrate your wins.
Never, Dave. You're so thankless.
All right. So listen, I'm going to just read down the list. You celebrated 6 years of marriage with your beautiful wife. You became a dad for the second time. Therefore, that's why the bags were under your eyes last week. Yes. Right. You gave up alcohol for the year, and maybe forever. Who knows? We already confirmed you're not a pot smoker. So you are legit natural. Right. And that's what they say. If you're not taking steroids, you're natty. You paid off all your consumer debt. How awesome is that? You started your own business. You published your first online course. You gave a TEDx talk, right? You spoke at the International Builder Show at IBS. Your podcast was listed number 5 on the top 15 podcast 2020 by New York Weekly. And your book was profiled by Yahoo Finance and Business Insider, and you co-host a show obviously with Dave Cooper Live. And you were generally the happiest, best version of myself that you've ever been. I mean, that's just a short list too. I'm sure there's a lot more filling in the gaps on that. But when you look back on it, that's a lot of accomplishments. I mean, having a kid, TEDx talk, writing a book, releasing a book, live shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny to me, 2020, right, didn't just start in 2020. 2020 started in 2019 when I think back on it. And in 2019, my New Year's resolution wasn't really a specific thing. It was just, I wanted to have this intention in all my day-to-day activities that I was going to put myself out there more. I wanted to meet new and different people and be exposed to new ways of thinking and new opportunities. And that was how I framed a lot of my decisions of what I chose to do or not do in my personal time and in my professional time. And a lot of the things that are on that list started in 2019, they finished in 2020, but it all started with just making that choice to get off the sidelines and get into the mix, join some mastermind groups, meet some new people, expand who I'm talking to, broaden that circle of influence. And then all of these things and opportunities started to appear. And I just decided to take advantage of it. Right. Yeah. So, and then it all adds up, right? Like that list.
It does. It all does add up. And there you have a list. And you know what? It gives you some expectations on what you can achieve for this upcoming year, right? Our years obviously are not running, year to year, so to speak, from January to January. A lot of our stuff is just based off when COVID started, right? That's our guiding point on this. So if you're in the audience, where did you go this year? Tell us some of the things that you've accomplished this year, some of the things you didn't accomplish, or things that just happened that stopped you from accomplishing things. I mean, this is today's conversation. It's not what did you do or what have you. It's where did you go this year? Where did you take yourself, your personal brand, whether it's for your business or for you personally? Let us know in the comments. We do have a comment there already from Pedro. What's happening, Pedro? Coming to us from YouTube today. Good job. Hi, Dave. I think I've always lived on social media's lockdown. I only use LinkedIn, and I met you through it. Congratulations for the beautiful work, Pedro. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Dude, I want to go to Rio de Janeiro. I've heard wonderful things. I mean, I've heard mixed things. Obviously, it's like anything else, but I heard it's just absolutely beautiful.
It looks beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Pedro, we're coming to Rio de Janeiro. Can you house us if we come down there?
Can you bring the RV
when
there?
The world opens up?
Put the RV on a boat and go to Rio?
That's it. Take us around, keep us safe, all the fun stuff that happens when you travel to different countries. But well, that's it, right? So here, Pedro is on YouTube, but we've met on LinkedIn. Like I said, he's been tuning in to quite a few of the shows, and hopefully you tune in for Monday's show. It's a big show we have coming up Monday. Miles, just so you know, we have a big show coming Mondays. Use your help promoting it, okay?
All right.
But I think, you're right, Miles. You went a lot of places this year, personally and professionally. And I think that's kind of the goal, right? Because I have to tell you, there has been a lot of times this year that I just feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, just kind of running. And then you get frustrated and you get flustered because the more you put out there, the more you get back, which is great. But the more you get back means the more you got to put out there because you got to respond, you got to talk.
Yeah.
This is the hamster wheel. This is the good, bad, and the ugly, I guess, of social media and personal branding and where you're going. And it's not a complaint. It's just another piece of the puzzle. Say, all right, well, I did this. Where do you go next?
Yeah, and I think it's a mix of. I think it's a mix of the banner you have of where did you go. Yeah, but a lot of it I think is who you became as well. Like who did you become this year? Because that kind of is the hamster wheel, right? It's like, where'd you go? Where are you going? Who'd you become? That affects where you're going to go next and how you approach that hamster wheel, metaphorically, right?
Yeah, so, for sure. Well, let's take a look at this here. We got Buzz is joining us. And hey, Mr. Buzz. Hey, Buzz, you were down in Florida. I'm just over in Del Rey. I don't think we're that far apart. You still down here, or did you go back to the cold north? He said he paid off his home and cottage, spending March in Florida. Okay, so it's still March. Buzz, we're not far from each other. We should connect. I don't know where you're at. I think you're on the West Coast. Is that right? Yeah, West Coast, Gulf Coast. And he spent a lot of time with Dave. He has. He has. Well, I hope you're spending time with me because you're getting stuff out of it and you're learning things about the industry. And that, the people that I find spending the time really care about where this industry is going and how it's getting there. So very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Miles. So we talked about where did you go? Anybody else out there, put it in the comments. Where did you go this year? I don't even care if you said I went on vacation. That's a goal, right? That's not everybody can go on vacation. There's all these different things that come out of this. And, I have to tell you, one of the things I learned, Miles, this year, and it's a shame that we learned it near the end. We sat there prior to the shows. We'd come up with we'd spend time really coming up with what is the conversations for today's show.
Yeah.
Right. How do we build off of last week's show? That type of thing. But lately we've been having more guests on, and we have Mark Mitchell on next week. Right. Mark Mitchell has been in the branding and marketing space for construction for a long time. I know he writes for a lot of the big magazines. Like, people follow Mark. Like, Mark Mitchell is Mark Mitchell, right? He's one of these things. But we started learning that when we just have some free flowing conversation off the cuff, that it also leads to a lot of conversation with the audience versus having a canned conversation. And when I say canned, it's not scripted. The topic is there. We're kind of just going with what we feel lately, and it's been a big difference, huh?
Yeah, I think going to like that post I did, right? That post you rattled off got a lot of exposure, and it was just me. I don't like making posts like that because it feels like I'm bragging. And the way I got around it personally was I was tagging other people saying thank you, right, and then using it as a way to hopefully motivate other people. And that's how I ended it. Like, look, you can do a lot in a year. Get off your butt and go do whatever you've been thinking about doing, right?
Right.
So I think people like that level of like just openness, and I think that comes out. Miles. Okay, that comes out when we're just doing this. It feels more open, it feels more accessible, and that it can be more of a, hey, let's interact with Dave and Miles, not just let's listen to them. Yeah, and people dig that stuff.
So here's your post. You did it 2 weeks ago. Can you see that? Okay, I blew it up. Is it a little bigger?
Yeah, looks good.
You did some fancy emoji. And if you don't know how to do emoji, just right click and scroll. You'll see the emoji button. You can pick emojis. And what you did is you thanked a lot of people. Devin Perry, Kathleen Majorski, Charles Beck, Tyler Webb. You put my name in there. Thank you, Miles. And it was a birthday post. But then look at this. You got 49 likes in here. So you got a bunch of people, other podcasters and people in the industry. But then you had a bunch of comments on it. And I think that, this is just a personal, this was your way of saying thank you to a lot of people. Look at me. You got Jody Varmas, right? Yep. Thank you. Buzz. Hey, Buzz did too. Look, hey, Buzz. Yeah, look, there you are. Christy Swarchak, so I think a lot of this, it's a very powerful thing to say and show because, most people see it, they click on it and they move on. But you said now it's got over 2,000.
Yeah, views. It's approaching 3,000 views views in the feed. So showing up on people's news feed, right?
Yep. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, right? Not everybody sees that, but you're watching and following what's happening there. And I think that's a very powerful thing. So people just see, they move on, but a lot of people don't realize how much, I don't know if it's press that you get or what have you, but it's more eyes on you. Every time somebody likes it, somebody comments, that means their group, their followers like or at least see it. And it puts more eyes on you. Again, building who Miles Big's ideas are, right? Is for your personal branding.
Yeah, it's amazing too. Like, I'm sure you've had it happen where you posted it 2 weeks ago. Somebody sees it for the first time today. They like it or commented, and now it's back in the mix again, because it's the algorithm catches it and you're off going. So that's one thing I learned talking about things, right? Doing the show with you, getting out there more with video, being more comfortable, not just being the audio guy, but talking and showing my face and, all of that has changed how much content I put out and the type of content. And then just seeing the life of that and lifespan of that and how it takes on a life of its own quite often. And then the residual that comes in after has been awesome. Yeah. And it's just been a year. And I'm sure you can attest to it with 6 days a week, right? That, like you said, the more you put out there, the more you get back. And it's then the challenge or the bad thing is, what do you do next with it? And that's where it's kind of fun, where you get to look at 2021 and say, where do I want to take this? Where do I want to go from here?
Sure. Well, hey, right. I agree with that. And with your post that you put out there was a lot of comments and likes on that, but that doesn't happen on every post.
No.
This is the thing. Like you can't expect doing it one time and for it to go viral. Now, on the other side of it, if you don't post a lot, LinkedIn will probably help your post go a little viral or pick up speed on those first couple, because that's just what they do. They want you involved in the conversation. They get you excited about it, but then it kind of trickles off. So yeah, no doubt, Miles. I think that kind of posts, and I think sharing the personal side is a little more. How many people out there wanted me to live stream our personal adventures on the road? I'd be curious if anybody really cares. Jen's looking at me like she's going to kill me right now. But I mean, literally, let's just wear a live camera. Maybe we'll hook up cameras in the motorhome and we'll just do our own on the road live show, reality TV of what happens behind the scenes when you're traveling with a family, setting up for 1:00 live feeds every day. Right. And no matter where you are, always stressed out about internet, right? Internet's king. And though we have all the technology in the world, these live streams, as you know, Miles, you're beheld to the cellular service companies. And then you're beheld to the software, the StreamYards, the Restreams, all the companies. And then you have the social media companies that have glitches and headaches and this, so there's 3 or 4 things every time that you go live that you got to rely on so many other people for. So I don't know. I figure I'd just throw it out there. It's probably not going to happen. My better half, and everybody knows Jennifer, would probably rather kill me than live a live reality TV show with me. And I'm running around. Where's all my stuff?
You get a lot more tax deductions that way, right? If for content, right? All your adventures, you get to write off the tickets to wherever you're going, and there you go.
It does. But all right. Well, so here's the unexpected of what we do, right? So you have live streaming, you have people on the show, you live stream your family for a living. These are all liabilities, insurance issues. What you're putting on the show, what t-shirt you're wearing, what branding you have going on, all of these things at first aren't a big deal when you're just, small and doing it. But as your brand grows and you have more eyeballs on, all these other things become super, super critical. You're dealing with corporations, like Miles Big's ideas. If you didn't give me permission to use your name and your product and all these things, it really gets complicated. It gets more complicated. And that's what I was saying earlier. As you do this, what starts off as, hey, let's turn on the lights, turn on the camera and go live and just have a blast, starts turning into, a lot more business oriented thinking, because you create liabilities for yourself, even if it's just personal.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good pivot off of me and onto you, Dave.
Don't pivot on me. It's my show. It's not you.
We had my list of the year, right? I don't know. You didn't have it written off, but yeah, we've been talking about it 6 days a week for a year. You went from just turn the lights and the camera on and let's kind of see what happens, and had some frameworks, to now you bought an RV, you're on the road. Like, it's a business. Yeah. You're worrying about legal liabilities and all those kind of things. So why don't you tell us in your words, your recap? What has this year been for you? What have you learned in 2020 with everything you've been doing?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned is to not be so self-conscious of what other people will think when it comes to my own thoughts. Right. I have something to give. We have something to share. Just like you, it took you 9 months before you started doing the video. And for you, it was more about just having one more thing to do, and was there value in it? But the reality of it is, I think the biggest thing that I've personally learned is, you just got to put it out there to start the conversation. And I think the second biggest thing that we've learned, Jennifer and I, on our journey, is by being consistent and doing what we've done this year, though it was sometimes very stressful. And, like I said, pulling over to the side of the road because you got a live stream when you're traveling 10 hours, was that consistency in the messages and the conversations we have had has paid off. Because one of the things that we find is a lot of people say it's the consistency of your show. Why we come back. You're always putting people on. You're consistent. We know you're going to be there, and that's translated into the business world in a larger way, globally. That's the other thing we learned. Sometimes we sit here and think, I think we're bigger globally than we are here in our own country. Like, we got Pedro from Rio de Janeiro on, and we're in Italy and France and Spain and, all around the world, England. So the journey for us has been a little bit unknown because nobody's really done what we're doing in our industry before. Nobody. I mean, there's some people out there that podcast and do, but nobody has said, I'm going to go 6 days a week and said, we're going to have conversations and we're not going to be in last place anymore. That's kind of been our goal. We're tired of being the tail on the donkey, right? That's how we got started with modular. And now it's really starting to turn around. It's the conversation's there. And I think that's, I'm kind of on a tangent on that part of it. But for me, if I sit there and look at the things that have happened, we started a live show 6 days a week. I went from building houses, every day of my life and selling homes and to, having conversations about doing it and sourcing and finding people that are doing it better, that are thinking differently, that want to build better homes. And that was the first step. Then the second step, as we got to learning, was not only can we build better homes, we can build more energy efficient homes. We can build healthier homes. And we can build more affordable homes, given offsite methods of construction, if people embrace them. And then I think the most fun thing for us is it's turned into an educational series for universities or live streaming us in their classrooms now. And that's kind of the out of left field side. We were fortunate enough to, and we'll share it later, but video testimonial from Purdue, from Tuskegee, professors, all over the country asking for us to be able to live stream in their classroom. So the educational side of what we started has really been a blessing in disguise. Was never expecting that to happen. For me, when I say it all the time, the judge said you're getting on a bus. It's either that one to the military or you're going to the other one because you need some pretty good correction, young man. To having major universities in the country wanting to live stream. So these are the unexpected things. So I don't know. Yeah. So where's the journey taking us? I think that's kind of the journey.
Well, I liken it to the stock market a little bit, right? Like you making all those investments and you have to be in the market to take advantage of the upside of the market. If you wait to get into the market when stocks are on the up, you're not going to realize the same amount of returns. And it's the same with this, right? It's in many ways, the shutdown with coronavirus was, in the actual stock market, it was going down, right? So some people were selling off everything and like not putting out content. But then in your case, you were just like, let's cash in and go all in into the market because when it rises up, we'll have more equity in place then, right? And that's what's happening now. The unexpected, because you've been in the market with the universities, is a great example that you never, if you had waited to have that figured out to start, you never would have started. But then it figures itself out as you go.
Well, that's it. You made me think of something. I'm going to get to the comments here in a second. But, one of the things, Miles, just from time and, you've learned this at a younger age, I believe, is we used to all chase the market. We used to chase the jobs, the next position, the next place we want to go, right? We chase it. For what we're doing, and Jen, it's funny. We kind of turned it around. We said, you know what? We're going to create what we're doing and believe in what we're doing and really, really went after it hard. So I think there's, that side of it as well. And I think for you just knew that already, but again, you were like the youngest general manager of any modular manufacturing facility ever in the history of modular manufacturing.
I don't know about that.
Ever. But
I've had the benefit of, when I decided to go out and put myself out and meet new people, it's like I got the benefit of hearing what you said enough times from people who had been my age and said, I wish I figured this out earlier, where I'm like, well, I guess I should figure this out now and just do it. Right. Yeah. And then it's like actually taking advice from people I've talked to when you ask them a question, what do you wish you would do differently? And then take what they say and then you can do it differently. Right. So
yeah, for sure. I wish I would have started this 10 years ago, man. I would have been like probably Casey Neistat with 100 million followers or something.
I know. I gave a talk this week to a group of college kids. And so one of them asked me that, like, what's your advice? And I'm just like, start right now. Like, just get out there and get in the mix. Cause oh my gosh, I wish I did.
That's like saving money, right? What are you waiting for? Start putting it in the bank, right? I know. Absolutely. It's easier said than done though. It really is. Life gets in the way. And I've been listening to this new productivity. See, I even listen to podcasts when I run. I don't listen to music. I listen to productivity stuff. Sometimes I haven't been on the Gary Vee kick as much lately, just because I got my I don't know, my direction where I want to go kind of happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. You gotta.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm on the opposite now. Like 2020 was such an go so hard everywhere that I'm actually listening to music again instead of podcasts and books when I'm working out. I'm like, this is great. Taking a break from it and just enjoying a song versus an audiobook.
Right. That's funny. You know what? And people probably like, you're doing what? You're listening to productivity podcasts while you're on? How is that motivating? Well, it actually clears my mind.
Yeah.
It gives me a chance to think, so gives me ideas. Look, Thomas Reed. What's happening, Tom Reed from Howick, cold rolled form steel. Love it. Build a modular home and, more importantly, blessed with a grandson and a granddaughter 3 weeks apart. Have had a great time supporting some of my key customers. Very thankful year for sure. Yeah, I mean, super, super nice, individual, Tom. And we met at the Pittsburgh Building Systems Council Week when that was in Pittsburgh 2 years ago now, almost a year and a half ago. And yeah, that's the first time I got to see the Howick machine. And more from Howick coming up too on this show, which I'm kind of excited to put out there. But yeah, we're looking forward to showcasing some of their stuff. In fact, we talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago. Tom, I don't know if you caught that show, but we talked about Howick made they make their own steel 2x4s, so to speak, right? Steel frame, but now they have one that actually you can expand, that is load bearing, that can be used. Think about if you're doing a retrofit and you're in an old house and the ceiling's like this. Bam, done. In and out of there in a couple hours, moving on.
The time you save measuring, cutting, like shimming it in there.
No waste. The machine prints it out. Prints it out exactly to what you need. So cool stuff coming up. All right, Jennifer says, I think the plug may be pulled. Oh, that's because, did I say it, everybody? Are we live streaming our family affairs for the next year? Is that my next gig? Probably not.
However, that would be your last gig if you did that, right?
My last married gig. That's for sure. But I do, unbeknownst to Jennifer, we will be live streaming some of our adventures because I think that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. The behind the scenes adventures.
Sure.
On a separate YouTube channel, not on this one. So Miles, let's get back to our show. I'm just bantering on, but this is what's been kind of fun. Journaling. How important to you is journaling? Because like you said, this is how you came up with your birthday list. And how I don't journal. I need to journal. I should write down. I mean, other people have told me this. What is the value? I don't like writing, but what is the value to journaling for you?
Yeah. So first, I think it starts with let's define journaling. I think a lot of people, when you say journaling, it's like, dear diary, today I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Like that. It doesn't have to be that for journaling. It can be free flowing. As you have an idea, you write it down so it's captured and you don't forget it. Just thoughts, random thoughts that come to your head, that can be a form of journaling. Gratitude, what you're grateful for that day, journaling. What you don't want to do, what pissed you off that day, journaling. It's all a mix of all of it, right? So for me, I have a mix. I started a journal because when I graduated college, it was 2012, I took the Dale Carnegie Skills for Success course. And it was like, group of people in a room, and it's kind of like interpersonal skills stuff, right? Yeah. And one day I won a book in class that was called Dale Carnegie's Scrapbook. And it was a book of stuff they found in his desk after he passed. And they kind of compiled it into a book, mix of his journals. And he kept journals. And I just made me think, that's kind of cool. Like, when I'm dead and gone, what will people find about me? Right. And so I started a journal in 2012. I still have it. And so I would document big things that happened or ideas, frustrations, right? All that kind of stuff from, what I was thinking when I was proposing to my wife, when we got married. I brought it to the hospital and both of our sons were born, and just as stuff hit my brain, capture it. And as stuff happens in my life, capture it. That's where that list was. It was in my journal, and then I brought it over to LinkedIn. Sure. So it's cool because when you do it that way, you can actually document and see your own personal growth, which is really neat. From a long, your own data set, if you will. I love it for that. From a tactical basis, I've got journals, that actual journal. I think the notepad in my phone is a form of a journal. And that's where when I started doing videos, Dave, that light bulb moment series where I was walking the dog and just talking about random things.
Right.
When I was walking the dog and listening to audiobooks or working out and listening to audiobooks, like you said, it gives you ideas. Well, if you don't write those ideas down and you say you're going to remember it, but they kind of go in one ear and out the other, right? And so I would just take out my phone when I had the idea and write the idea down, and would have and then I'd go back and look at those ideas and reformat them into lists of here's I wrote my book that way. I had passages from my book came from those random moments and thoughts on a treadmill or, walking the dog, or a video was born of that, or a podcast. And so I think it's a cool way to just capture all the stuff that bounces around your brain all the time.
Right.
For the short term, in the moment, turn it into something. And then it's neat in the long term. You could go back and look at previous you and what were you thinking at a big moment of time, or what did you learn? And then fully appreciate where you are now versus where you were when you are having a bad day or you're looking for some inspiration. Right. You could find it from yourself many times if you've written it down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could understand that. I'd be interested, and I put it up there, how many people out there journal, that are watching the show today. Do you write it down? Do you go back and revisit those things? You kind of hit it on one of the things when I'm listening and running and doing my workout. I hear an hour-long podcast, but the reality of it is I don't have any way of journaling unless I want to stop running every 10 minutes, right?
Right.
And I've tried the Google or Hey Series and all these different things, but I don't know. Google doesn't let you do it with the Google business plans or whatever. All right. So Miles,
real quick on that, Dave.
Yeah, tell me.
An audio message could work too. So I remember when I was going to the gym before the pandemic in 2019, I would look insane to people, but I'd be on the treadmill running, and then I'd have my phone up and be talking to myself. And then I'd go back and listen to it later. It's as I'm getting the idea out of my head, but then it's out of my head, and I can go back and type it later. So you can try that too. Instead of stopping and running, just toggle over to your audio app.
Yeah.
Talk to yourself and then go back and make sense of it. But then you capture it and then you can move on.
Well, it's interesting. You just remind me, I could set up one of the buttons on my phone that when I double click it, it goes to the audio record, and I can just say my piece, go back to it, and then my podcast comes back on. I've actually been using Evernote, and in Evernote, I set up a daily notebook, right?
Nice.
Dates, and that's kind of where I've been journaling, just to-dos and what do I have to do every day. Love it, love it, love it. All right, Miles, we are rambling on and having a good time doing so. So, where are you headed next year? 2021, 2022, and beyond. I'd like to hear from everybody in the audience as well. Where are you heading? What are some of your BHAGs? You know what BHAG is, Miles?
No.
Big, hairy, audacious goals.
Oh, okay.
What is your BHAG? That's a Dave Ramsey thing. But on the other side, too, Miles, I forgot I wanted to say, you mentioned Dale Carnegie, great course. Most people don't know this about me, but at one point I was a student instructor for Dale Carnegie with Michael Frank Moore in Connecticut for their sales course.
Yeah.
And I used to volunteer my time with Michael Frank course. So that's funny. There's something we had in common, didn't even know.
Yeah, look at that. That was great. I love that course. I still use a lot of things I learned from that course. Yeah.
So where are you heading this year, Miles?
Man, I'm still figuring it out, Dave. To be truly honest with you. This year, I know I'm going to kind of contract a little bit. I just heard a new phrase this week. Someone called it, you heard shotgun approach. They said spray and pray was there. And so I was doing the spray and pray. I'm throwing out stuff all over the place and kind of praying that it sticks, see what works.
Right.
Well, I've done enough of that now that I have an idea of what works externally with other people, but also what fulfills me internally and what I want to do more of.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through my journal exercises, kind of framing out what does this look like? How can I just really go all in on one or two things instead of a lot of things? And so a couple things I have arrived on is I'm taking the idea unseen work from just the one-time book and TED Talk, and it's in a live stream now every Wednesday night at 8:45 p.m. It's unseen work, where it's this kind of format, talking to people who are seen for something, and we unpack how they got there. What's that unseen work? It's a chance for me to extend the idea in interviews, but also a chance for me to promote my book every week, right? Sell some books.
I love it.
Which oddly enough works. The first couple nights I did it and I went and checked my Amazon orders, and people ordered the book after the stream, which was cool. So it's proof that it's worth my time investment, right?
Yeah.
But also, I wrote my first book after my first podcast, Rolls the Journey, after 100 episodes. So I'm starting this live stream with the idea for a second book in mind already, and kind of tailoring the questions towards that. So that'd be a BHAG of mine, is write book number 2.
Yeah.
I don't want to just write one book. It's like me being competitive with myself. Plenty of people just do one book. I'm going to have more than one book, you know? So I'm going to do that. Right. And then I'm taking Relish the Journey from the like broad talk to anybody about everything and narrowing that down, right? Finally, we talk about riches and the niches. I haven't had a niche. I've been in the Red Sea, like you're saying, Dave. I'm going all in for Relish the Journey on fatherhood. So it's Relish the Journey of fatherhood. I'm going to talk to dads about what it's like to be a dad. How'd you find out you're going to be a dad? Things you wish you could do differently, or, you know, all this kind of stuff. Dad jokes. It'll be puntastic and great. Right. Have some fun with it. But so Unseen Work will become the open-ended interview show. Relish the Journey is going to be my personal journey through fatherhood, and also other guys, and talk about what it means to be a dad, and unpack that there. So those are my things I have figured out, and then we'll see what else filters in the cracks.
Well, I know the dad stuff, man. I can remember it from the moment they said you're having twins. And about 20 minutes later, when I walked in the door, the bottle of Crown Royal opening up, trying to figure it all out. Like, what?
Yeah, I can only imagine, man.
Cool. Good.
Yes, we'll have to get you on that. We'll get you back on Relish the Journey, talk about dad life.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a lot more interesting people out there than me on the dad life. Well, that's really cool, man. Good for you. I'm excited. I think a lot of people are always trying to figure it out. Heck, we don't even know if trade shows will be open this upcoming year. Like, we don't know what the world's going to bring, what the pandemic's going to pan out to be. Right. We just don't know yet. You don't even know, like, these injections and all the other stuff. Like, do they work? Do they not work? There's all kinds of stuff happening right now. But you got to keep going forward, and that's what I'm hearing you're doing. You're just going to keep driving forward.
Yeah. So what about you? You got the road trip. What else you got on the books?
Yeah. So this year's a really, really big year for us. We do have a little bit of a roadmap, but it's like it's uncharted territory, but we're going to keep growing our conversation on the industry. We're going to continue bringing our industry together, offsite construction, modern methods of construction. You're going to see us probably doing some different shows. Definitely heading towards the consumer market on some of our shows. Future housing, what does that look like? Right. So that hopefully will start during our road show here. Yeah. But I mean, for us, we won't be live 6 days a week after this year, but we will be live still several days a week, which is, I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm not sure the exact how many days.
Sure. Careful before we make another year-long commitment, right?
Yeah. We've built up a huge database of, just things that we've learned, from the people we've interviewed. So I think people could really expect to hear a lot more of our thoughts on the industry, where the industry's heading. And we're probably going to forecast a couple things as well, and really try and grow what we're doing. I don't want to be in last place. That's my goal before I retire, Miles, is that the housing industry is not in last place when it comes to innovation, technology, and affordability.
Nice. That's a good goal.
It's our BHAG, right? That's the BHAG. How can we make a difference that matters? And that's what we're going to work towards.
I like it. I just hope I can retire one day.
It's hard.
That's my BHAG, right?
It's hard. And not even retired.
Actually, I'm going to be one of those guys. I can't sit still. I'll be doing something forever.
Right. All right, we got our last topic, then we're going to wrap it up here, Miles. You ready?
Let's do it.
What are the risks of personal branding? What are some of the things that you were not expecting? And we talked about it a little bit earlier when I was saying the insurance and all that. But what has been your risk of personal branding?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a T-shirt here, Dave. It just popped in my head. Being branded. Like, you put your own brand out there, and people brand you as something different. Right?
You're right.
You get branded as XYZ. People make up their minds, in our cancel culture society, right? People just don't even give you a chance to defend yourself sometimes. You say one thing that might offend somebody, and then that's it. You're done. or, I've had personal relationships that have ended over content and interviews and, what I'm doing versus what they think I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And just things that seem so crazy to think about and childish in many ways, but have happened through putting content out there, right? It's like you said, you put so much out there, you get more back. Sometimes what you get back isn't always smiley faces back at you.
No,
right?
it's not. So
that's the risk of it. But you have to really believe in what you're doing enough to still do it, and the good will outweigh that risk. And it requires a backbone to stand up for what you're doing, why you're doing it, and you let that stuff kind of fade away. And the good news is, for every kind of person that's left my life because of this, like 5 more have entered. Right? You meet some phenomenal people doing it, and the good outweighs the bad. At least for me. What about you?
Well, but at the same time, that's how you know you're being successful, because you'll never make everybody happy. Somebody will hate you just to hate you. Somebody won't like you because you're doing something they wanted to do and didn't figure out how to do it, or you said something that was the opposite of what they believe, so you become a risk to them. It happens to Jen and I as well quite often, but that's the whole idea. It's a conversation. We're putting out conversation. Not everybody's going to agree with everybody, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm not intentionally wanting to offend anybody, but if I offend you, well, I don't know. Maybe you got to work on your own personal feelings. That's kind of where I'm at, man.
Also, where I'm at too is like, if I offend you, well, let's have a conversation about it. I'm willing to have a conversation with people that disagree with me. Like, I'll talk about it with you. But what I have found is a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They want to yell about it. They don't want to talk with you about it. And that to me is where it's like, okay, well, then I'm not going to spend my energy over here. That's not doing me any good. I got enough good things I'll focus on over this way, and I'll focus there.
Yeah. Well, that's what you got to do. You just got to keep going forward.
Yeah.
If you focus on the negative, it's just going to bring you down.
100%.
Sometimes it does hurt. It is what it is. But I think it was the Rocky Balboa, right? It's not how hard you can hit. It's not how hard you get hit and fall down. It's how many times you stand back up.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's what he said. Something like that. I don't know. I got a glass nose. It's been broken a lot.
Or you can go back, Chumbawamba, right? I get knocked down, but I get up again.
That's right. That's right. I'm like a Weeble Wobble.
There you go.
Right. We'll get a Weeble Wobble shirt. All right, Miles, man, 51 minutes. That was a good show.
Yeah, it's fun. Always love chopping it up with you, Dave.
It's always fun chopping it up with you, Miles. All right, so we got another couple episodes. Again, I'm going to put it up here. Everybody that's watching, we have Mark Mitchell on our show next week. Let me go in here, and I know Jennifer put it in the comments, and make sure I reshare it right here. Mark Mitchell joins us next week on Increasing Influence. You don't want to miss next week. If you're in our industry, if you're in the building industry, Mark Mitchell is the go-to marketing guy out there. You want to join this. It's going to be a lot of fun. Miles, we're going to have a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
So that'll be a lot of fun. And everybody else, remember, join us Monday on the 22nd. Big show. We are going to be talking about offsite and why it hasn't taken off. You know why it's a big show, Miles?
Why?
We have Greg Ugaldi on.
Nice.
We have Jerry McCahey on. All together. These are big personalities, right? We have Henry Mickelberg on from France as well. Self-proclaimed modular guru, and he is actually, right? And we have Brittany. What's Brittany? What's that, Jen? Yeah, Constructor Podcast. Brittany from Constructor Podcast on as well. I don't know why I have the worst time remembering her last name or their podcast and last name. So these are all big personalities. We're going to talk about the value of offsite construction, where it's headed. Why hasn't it taken off? Is it a cost thing? Is it a knowledge thing? 1 p.m. this upcoming Monday, Miles. And Jerry McCahey.
Yeah, this will be a fun debate with that group of
Greg
personalities.
Ugaldi.
Yeah.
Right. And Henry Mickelberg. I mean, we're setting rules. I'm having rules and mute buttons, and it's going to be like a presidential debate. If I had a gong, I'd hit the gong behind us. So Monday, 1 p.m., everybody. It's going to be a great show. Great show. Pedro says, thanks, Dave and Miles. Pedro, thank you, man. I
Yeah,
love it that
thank
you're
you.
joining us from Rio de Janeiro. Hopefully one day we can get down there. I would love to. I've never been to that part of the world. Miles, anything else? You got anything coming up that you want to say?
No, we talked about it
You
all.
tapped out?
My caffeine's wearing off. I got to re-up.
Got to re-up. Go change some diapers, man.
Yeah.
Go change some diapers. Give your wife a break. All right. Listen, Miles, you have a good one. Everybody else out there, thank you for joining us today. Hope today was a lot of fun. Good conversation. We are back to interviewing next week. Mark Mitchell, be here at 1 p.m. and be sure to join us tomorrow on BS Friday with Mark Barenaked Willie. In fact, tomorrow, Jerry McCoffey's on tomorrow, right, Jen? Jerry McCoffey's getting back-to-back shows with us.
Man.
Back-to-back shows. So,
Look at that.
yeah, Jerry's going to be on tomorrow as well from Integra on BS Friday. Not the same conversation that's going to happen on Monday. All right, Miles, that's it. I'm done rambling on. I gotta get on to the next thing, man, just like everybody else.
Yes, sir. See you, everybody.
All right. We'll see you, man. Bye now.